at this age, nicer clothes, newer car, bigger house, those would all be titles of chapters of a book I might write called Things I Do Not Give a Shit About.
I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is the Call Your Dad podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of Call Your Dad, where I and my father are kind of discussing some topics that we enjoy talking about and kind of questions that we have for one another. Today we were wanting to talk about the differences in, like the midlife crisis and the quarter life crisis, because he's at midlife crisis stage and I'm at quarter life crisis stage. So we are just going to jump right into that and, see what the differences are and what our outlooks are on some things.
Yeah. So I will push back on the crisis part. I do believe that they exist, and I do believe that certainly different things will either challenge or excite me now at this age than when I was younger, and probably will be different than when I'm older if the Lord allows for it. But quick sort of context, I think that people like me, I'm 51, we like to throw around the word midlife. That, as a mathematician, only makes sense if I plan to live to 102. Like that's probably not likely, right? Now, who knows with CRISPR gene editing, maybe in 10 years I'll be able to 3D print a brand new liver, in my living room. We don't know where modern medicine is going, but an actuarial who works for a life insurance company would tell you that the average American man dies somewhere like in their mid 70s. So like my life is 2/3 over. Like if I took a pie and cut it into 6 slices, like I've already eaten 4 slices.
Yeah.
Like mathematically, I probably have 2 yesterdays for every tomorrow.
Sure.
Right. Like, and that's if I don't get hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm just saying, as a matter of statistics, I am 2/3 towards death. Right? But the average person pretends oh no, well, being 59, middle age is like 118 years old. Like, wow, you're optimistic, right? But I will say that certainly at 51, I've got a different perspective than I did at 41, 31, and 21, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's a different stage of life with different challenges and opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel like, do you feel like your 20s, 30s, 40s, or now, like in your 50s, has been the favorite? Because each one's going to have a different lesson within.
Right.
Each one's going to have a different exciting thing happen. But overall.
Yeah. So I'll take the coward's way out. I found joy and hardship in every decade. But the best analogy I could use is what do you like better, medium rare porterhouse steak or Alaskan king crab legs? I'm like, man, I love them both, but they are very different. Mm-hmm. They're very different, qualitatively, distinct. I will say that I feel probably more content and satisfied with life now, because in my 20s and 30s, it's just work and school and work and school, and by school I mean like graduate school and things like that. On top of like being a father, being a husband.
That's like on top of our school.
Yeah, right. So there was certainly a lot logistically more complications then. Coupled with, in your 20s and 30s, if you have an ounce of pride, you're usually measuring yourself against yourself. Mm-hmm. And so in 20s and 30s, I didn't know how this was going to turn out. Like, you're still trying to figure things out. Like, who am I as a man, as a professional, as a leader? And when those questions are still hanging over your head and you're pursuing them with the respect they deserve, that creates a certain level of low-grade chronic stress. Am I going to make enough to provide for my kids? Am I going to achieve enough to feel like I've somewhat lived up to whatever potential God has blessed me with? Well, despite, losses along the way, lose some battles, but if you win the war, okay, there's a certain contentment that, comes with that. So I'm kind of digging my 50s.
Yeah.
Mom and I, we got married young, had kids young. So now we've got like freedom and God has willed that we have health, that we're fortunate that. And, we're not rolling with a Warren Buffett or Elon Musk bankroll, but we have money.
Yeah.
And so now we have freedom and it's just a different stage of life. Yeah. And we get to, but we also have relationships with you and your brother and, the grandkids. And so, ask me tomorrow. I'm always one doctor visit away from my life changing, forever. But for right now, I'm digging my 50s.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. That's good to hear. I mean, I don't have as much to compare to, but
no,
I'm definitely digging my 30s. My 20s were a terrible time, I feel like. So a lot of lessons learned. And just being young and dumb,
Yeah.
So in my 30s, I feel like, I'm 31. I feel like I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
And so,
That's great.
I'm hoping that in 20 years when I'm 51, that I can have lessons from my 30s, but be set up enough to be digging my 50s.
Yeah. So, every once in a while, people from the outside who maybe weren't there for the first, couple dozen chapters, they think oh, wow, that's great. You guys are in a good spot. How do you do it? Oh, well, it's pretty simple. Work really hard for 30 years, save a lot of money, delay gratification, and then you too can one day live a upper middle class lifestyle.
Yeah.
So there's no secret
Buy the
to
Dave
any
Ramsey
of this.
book.
I tell you what.
Dave Ramsey.
I tell you what. I've been living by the Dave Ramsey principles since I was 19 years old, and I do not regret that one bit. It's all too often. We live in such a consumer-driven society that every day marketers are waking up on both coasts of the country trying to figure out, how do I separate these fools from their money? Every day, man, every day we're under that pressure. And so I'm glad that I found a voice of wisdom in the wilderness, at a young age. Mm-hmm. But, knowing it and doing it is two different things.
Right.
I know to eat fruits and vegetables every day. I just don't always have the discipline to do it, right?
No.
So a lot of people, well, I didn't know that I was supposed to borrow up to the hilt to finance these jet skis. I had no idea. It's oh, come on, man. You knew not to do that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. But no, we are having a good time in our 50s.
Good.
Yeah. So I will say, however, that the perspective invariably changes because I don't morbidly contemplate death all day, every day. If there is a silver lining to the life I had lived in a previous chapter, I was around enough death. I saw it visited unfairly upon young men. If there's a silver lining, and I don't say that lightly, I don't want to ever imply that some other young man's misfortune was to my benefit because it changed my perspective. I'm only acknowledging that you bury enough young men in their 20s, you're going to walk away with that, I think, with probably a different frame of reference. Because of that, I have become much more intentional about where I spend my time, with whom I spend my time, and on what I spend my time. Whether or not I do something that's going to garner a lot of likes and clicks and comments and attention on social media, I could give a crap less about, right? And so there's a certain liberty that comes as you age, in that the closer you get towards the final chapter of your life, the more I think what is important comes into focus, right? And it doesn't mean that can't happen earlier, but I think as a matter of just law, it tends to definitely happen as you get older.
Yeah, I can agree with you. Again, I'm not 51, but I will say I think sometimes when you have you face tragedy or you see things in a different light that maybe others don't, it can make you realize things quicker and make you feel a little bit wiser. When I'm referencing is, I got married young to someone I should have never married. And so when I, got divorced, I basically just said, you know what, I'm gonna enjoy every single day of my life. I never want to be, never want to be in a sad or bad spot again. And so kind of just pushing the screw it button and I'm going to live for myself. So I'm glad that I figured that out in my late 20s, early 30s, than waiting until I'm older to, really start enjoying
Yeah.
the way that I'm living.
Yeah.
Like every
oftentimes-
day, it's like almost like I'm looking for a.
Yeah.
Like I try to be so positive and enjoy like all of the things.
Yeah. No, I mean, happiness and contentment are two different things. And oftentimes we are being pushed happiness, whether it's like professional marketers that are pushing a product or people's curated social media feed pushing a modified version of their life, right? We're being pushed happiness. It's hard to push contentment, but having been both happy and content, I'll choose contentment over happiness 7 out of 7 days, because contentment, there's something just qualitatively different about that, where you are at peace with where you are and what you have. And it doesn't mean that you don't have ambition, but I think when we are intrinsically motivated to pursue relationships and experiences that provide us intrinsic value, that has a way of putting us at peace differently than things can do, right? And so it's at some point, with finite money, every financial decision you make is, okay, do I want to have stuff or do I want to do stuff? Like usually it's kind of one or the other to some degree. And so again, I mean, not to turn the podcast too dark, but, having sat in, Afghan, hospitals on combat deployments across from young children that were maimed or horribly burned, digging up unexploded Soviet landmines that the Taliban sent. When you see a young girl whose body's been permanently scarred, there's so much tragedy that surrounds that, that though I'll never have an answer on this side of paradise for why that is, I will say when I'm talking with somebody at a nice restaurant, having a nice dinner, wearing nice clothes, and listening to somebody complain about how long it has taken for the watch manufacturer in Switzerland to return their high-end timepiece, I'm like, man, I'm sorry. I just could not give a crap less about your stuff at all. Like I genuinely do not care about that, right? But then it's hard to live with that mentality in a world that's constantly pushing crap upon us.
Yeah.
More stuff, right?
Shiny new things.
And if that provides you intrinsic joy, like if that provides you true joy, sure, man, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. I mean, I probably own stock in that watch company. Go, buy 10 of them, right? I'll probably end up making a profit, right? But at this age, nicer clothes, newer car, bigger house, those would all be titles of chapters of a book I might write called Things I Do Not Give a Shit About. Because it'll all be dust, either before me or after me, it's all going to, be dead. But, the simple serenity of like listening to like my granddaughters laugh as we kick the soccer ball around in the yard. There's no Lamborghini that's ever going to compete with that. And I'm glad I learned that, before I, got too old, to regret it. But there's a flip side to being this age. Now, when I go to the gym and try to work out like I used to, I'm finding different parts of my body that hurt that I didn't even know I had, right? So, there is a downside to aging. Like there is a physical downside.
Are you an AARP member? Yeah.
I'm AARP curious. Right. So they push me this stuff. Sometimes people are like, they'll see me holding the phone, like, at arm's length. They're like asking me, like, are you taking a selfie? I'm like, no. I'm reading this email from AARP that they can give me a discount on Cricket Wireless, So like there is a physical like downside to aging because ultimately Father Time is undefeated. Now, I'm going to make sure that by the end of it, he will know he has been in a fight with this one. Like, but I know that he will win. Like eventually he will win. And so things that do concern me now that did not in my 20s and 30s, though intellectually I knew that one day I would be old and decrepit if I didn't die prematurely. Well, now, like when I visit people in assisted living facilities or nursing homes, like parents of like friends of mine, and I see men who are outnumbered by women like 4 or 5 to 1. So if I can make it that long, like the odds are in my favor. Like, heaven forbid if mom goes before me, nursing homes are a great place to pick up girls because the ratio is like, because most men die earlier than women, right? So the odds are like, it's a good numerical.
Yeah. I worked in a nursing home. I remember.
But like when I see men in their, let's just say 80s or 90s, so they've lived mathematically a long life, but when I see them needing so much help and attention, and especially when they have dementia or Alzheimer's, I'm trying to imagine how I will do with that. Like I'm trying to imagine in the not too distant future when you and your brother come to me and say, Dad, we just don't think it's safe for you to drive, and like I have to give you my car keys. Like part of me is going to think, how many combat flights I led in continents around this planet. Like part of me is going to be like hanging on to like
stubborn of just so, like that's not the time.
Yeah. And even though I know you all would be doing that for my own best interests, right? There's some amount of reconciliation with your own mortality that I wonder if I will struggle with that. Like I wonder if I will struggle with the idea that one day I will not be able to walk into a room and, if necessary, command attention. Like one day, are people going to be patronizing me? Like, oh, here comes that handsome devil. Like when I'm 90 years old, and like the 25-year-old nurses are like trying to be nice to me. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do with that. Yeah. Like I honestly do not know. Maybe I'll have a different perspective by then, but I question if I'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone is going to be a little stubborn because it's a huge change. And then I think that opens the door of like, okay, like now we start this chapter, right?
Yeah.
Which we know where the chapter ends.
Yeah.
And so I think I think in the beginning, anyone and everyone, and I just, because I know your personality, you're definitely going to be stubborn.
Yeah, I think so.
Like
if I had to wager, I think so.
Yeah, you're gonna be fighting us.
Now, at the same time, I would have told you 20 years ago, like when I was your age, I would have probably said I would be stubborn about certain things now that I'm not. And so I'm hoping that I continue to emotionally mature, at some rate that will allow me to accept with grace, like the inevitable.
Yeah.
But again, it's an open question.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll see.
Right.
I think us trying to take your car keys and you being concerned about, what are you going to say? What if you can't remember some things, and then you just start telling us. I mean, Alexander and I've talked, like, we're waiting for you to tell us some, like, maybe some top secret information maybe one day, like whenever you can't remember if you're supposed to let us know that or not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
We might have some good stories then.
I lost track of how many like non-disclosure agreements or whatever I had to sign, and I don't know what's been declassified. So I could see me, but look, I don't think that I would be court-martialed in my 90s if I have a memory slip and say something that was technically still classified. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Now, because we've got maybe a few different generations watching or listening to the podcast, I'm only an expert on my life's journey, where it is right now. I think that it is a different proposition to be in your 50s nowadays than it was years and years ago. Good and bad. For whatever reason, the sum total of the general societal vector has led people to believe that they're under pressure, that, 50s is the new 20s or whatever. And I see some unhealthy pressure. And there's a double standard. I'm not a card-carrying feminist, but I will say that there is a double standard when it comes to men versus women aging. And if you look at like commercials, the fraction that are geared towards men is usually like physical, right? Men, do you suffer from low testosterone? Basically, it's about helping men, quote unquote, get better. With women, in their 50s, it seems like most of the products, the goods and services are targeted towards helping you look younger.
Gosh, yeah.
So it's almost like men are allowed to look better. Women are supposed to look younger. That's never not been the case.
No.
I mean, makeup's been around for 500 years, but there is like a different pressure. And then once upon a time, it was only Hollywood and New York that was pushing that. Like you're in the checkout line at Kroger, there's a People magazine, and like so-and-so looking stunning at 55.
Yeah.
Well, now it's the bull crap, fabricated AI Photoshop filtered pictures of people on Facebook that are convincing you of this like false reality.
Right.
But if you get bombarded with that all day, every day, you begin to think, oh my gosh, am I allowed to have crow's feet at 53? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, we're going to
Yes.
have to pull on this episode. We've got to pull a picture of this. You're talking about women looking younger. Kris Jenner's like the Kardashian family.
Okay.
She got some facelift surgery. I mean, this thing went viral. Everyone's like, this surgeon is just, probably the best surgeon in the world. She went from looking older to like one of the girls, like one of the sisters. I mean, it's like they took 35 years off of her life with like this, her neck, everything. So you're talking about, women to look younger. We all got bombarded with that in our feed. And then it's like, well, probably need to find that surgeon's number. That way when I'm 75, I can look 31 again.
Right. And I'm not anti-beauty. When it becomes pressure, like when it almost feels like it's never truly an obligation. Nobody has ever I doubt somebody's ever put a gun to somebody's head and said, you will get a facelift.
Right.
But when the pressure seems incessant, I can understand and appreciate how some people may feel almost obligated. Like, I have to do this.
Well, I could definitely see that. You're talking about the guys are pushed to be stronger. The guys your age and older, try to ask out me and my friends who are in their 30s. So I can only imagine being 50 or 60 trying to date. Well, the guys that are your age are trying to go after, and even that, sometimes even younger. You have guys that are 55 that have the, boat and the Corvette trying to get the 22-year-old and her friends out there. And it's just kind of like, where are we competing? How do we, where are we going? So
Mom has made that joke before. Like, if something happens to me, like you better not like start dating some like 25-year-old waitress somewhere. I'm like, it's like, whatever, like, come on, like, me well enough to know, like, I would
you'd punch your
rather
face.
have a root canal than, you know what I mean? Because, okay, what possibly could we have in common? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't, look, to each his or her own. I don't get it, but I don't got to worry about that.
Right, it's not your business.
Yeah, but I see though.
But it's going back to that though. It's like, why are we being pushed to be? Why are us as women like, oh, like you got to stay young. You got to stay young. Like, well, yeah, we do have to stay young because we're getting beat out by the 10-year, women that are 10, 20 years younger than us. Obviously, when I'm 40 and 50, it'll be different. But it's like.
No, there's a bit of a double standard, and then again, people they adopt those social pressures or whatever you want to call them, their own unique way. And some women are like, look, I'm a confident, accomplished woman in my 40s, 50s, 60s. Like I don't need external validation from anywhere. And then there's others that it's almost like they're panicking. It's like they realize that, oh my gosh, my body's having a going out of business sale, so I need to like quickly like do everything I possibly can. There's a particular establishment that Mom and I go to quite a bit in the community, and it draws an older crowd. It's definitely a middle-aged crowd, right? Because the last thing I want to be is in a bar club with a bunch of 20-somethings.
Right. I'm only 31, and I don't want to be at a bar club with 20-year-olds.
Hard pass. So this place definitely brings in the so-called middle-aged crowd. And when like I scan the audience, like it almost, one day I had an epiphany, like, man, this looks like an open tryout for next season's Golden Bachelor. Like everybody it's like everybody's in character.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, you know, they're peacocking the way that only 50-year-olds can peacock.
Yeah.
It's just, there's something about it that's, you know, but look, they're having fun, spending their own
Having a
money,
good time, yeah.
enjoying themselves. It's just
it's
it's
funny.
a mild observation that I made.
I always tell my girlfriends that are like in their late 30s or mid 40s, whenever they're like, where could I go and meet someone? I'm like, go there. Go there. You might, you never know. You might find someone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so it's funny.
No, there's a double standard. And it's not lost on me. It's not lost on me that, you know, it's not fair. I don't blame men for that. I think it's equally men and women. I mean, more often, look, ladies, man, y'all are a lot harder on each other usually than guys. The knuckle dragging Neanderthal dude who is 40 years old and is only interested in 19 to 22-year-olds, he doesn't count. Like his opinion does not count, right? But in large measure, I think that it's not only guys that are putting that pressure on quote unquote middle-aged women or even younger. I think some of it is self-generated or it's coming from equally like the woman's side of, you know, the issue. Yeah. So going forward for you, you know, because the things you have to think about, both challenges and opportunities for you are different now than they will be like in 10 years from now, right? Because your kids will be older. That creates, you know, new chapters. What are some of your thoughts about, you know, where you're at versus where you're going next?
Yeah, I mean, I think earlier in the episode when I talked about how I feel like I'm just getting started, right? I feel like I had some wasted years. I mean, I say wasted. Lessons were definitely learned that I would not ever change. I wouldn't go back and change it. But I am just getting started. And so now it's like, you know, I want to make sure that I'm involved, you know, try to be super involved with like the PTO at school and all the things, getting Isabella into, you know, all the activities she wants to do, taking the vacations, not missing a beat, going to all the concerts. You know, you and I have talked before. It's like, I mean, I don't want to have a like nervous breakdown, but I mean, I am like a single parent, you know, doing all the, I'm doing all the things that a 2-income, 2-parent household is doing. But I'm doing it by myself. And so then the next question is like, okay, like, when am I going to make time for myself? Like, am I going to have a partner that I do these things with? What does our life look like in the future? I want to make sure I have enough for retirement. So right now it's like, I'm like grinding, working, but also making sure that I'm taking care of my kids and spending the time and being involved with school and doing the sports. Yeah. But then I'm only 31. You know, I do have friends and I'm a very social person. So then it's like wanting to make sure that I'm actually enjoying my life too. I don't want to just be on autopilot where like, luckily, I love my job. My kids are awesome and I have a great group of friends. So I say this super humbly. I have a pretty great life. Like I'm very thankful because a few years ago, it was a very not good life. It was a very terrible life, you know? So it's like just trying to take it all in and finding my new routines and like my way. And then the things that I want at the end of it, like where do I see myself in 10 years, you know? Hopefully 10 years from now that my business is taking off even better. I'm still having a great relationship with my kids and, you know, maybe I'm married in 10 years. So it just, you know, I wish I had a crystal ball sometimes, but then on the flip side, I'm glad I don't. Yeah. So just.
No, that's great. That's great. Now, so we'll go ahead then on that, you know, wonderfully well put note, you know, wrap it up and just, you know, maybe the takeaway is that every stage of life presents its own challenges and own, you know, unique opportunities. And to a fault, I spent the first solid third of my life. So like, let's just say I'm going to die at 75. Like the first 25 years, it was only about looking forward. It was only about what's next, what's next, both good and bad. Like what's the next bad thing I can get into? What's the next good thing? And then at some point though, if you're fortunate enough to learn this before you're too late, you begin to appreciate that, that the journey truly was as valuable as the destination.
Yeah.
Never once would I encourage somebody to not have ambition. But I will say to a fault, I sometimes was so hyper-focused on what was around the next bend in the river that I didn't enjoy the piece of it that I was in at that moment.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe the lesson and the takeaway is that wherever you're at in life, I don't pretend for a moment that there's not struggle, hardship, setback, failure, disappointment. At the same time, the good old days in the future are the days you're living right now, with everything negative and horrible that might come along with that. And so I would encourage everybody, whether you're at quarter life, midlife, later life, beginning life, end of life, there's probably things in there that we can enjoy.
Yeah,
and those
I
things
agree.
are going to be people, experiences, relationships,
Yeah.
maybe not
things.
cars, houses, boats, and clothes. So,
Yeah, for sure.
all right. Well, listen, everybody, thank you guys a lot for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you all next time on the Call Your Dad podcast.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We hope that you enjoyed today's episode.
Yes, please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.
See you next time.